Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always, told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to talk about the fact that Fusion Strike is not selling quite as well as some other Pokemon TCG sets have in the past, why that might be, and why that could actually end up causing some issues a little bit down the line, especially when physical tournaments come back. So I have been talking to a bunch of stores recently, trying to get some information from them, including the lovely Millibods Gaming and the lovely Playscape Games, and some other stores that would rather remain anonymous. Incidentally, Millibods Gaming and Playscape Games, you know by now, I am a gigantic fan of both of them. They are awesome. But we've been talking about Fusion Strike and how it's not actually ended up selling quite as well as a lot of people were expecting. So if we head on over to Millibods Gaming as an example, because you all know I'm a big fan of that one. We do some work with Digimon on my other channel, though I should be very clear. This is not a sponsored video. Let's be perfectly clear. This is not a sponsored video. I'm just using them as examples because they're awesome. And right now I can go over to Millibods Gaming and I can buy a booster box of Fusion Strike for £115, which is a very good price. Because it should be about 143-ish. 143.64. That's the... Well, booster boxes don't really have an RRP because they're not really designed to be bought as booster boxes. They're designed to be opened and bought as individual packs. But 36 packs at $3.99 a pack is $143.64. That's cheap. That is a very good price. And it's in stock. And it's been a little while. And Fusion Strike's been out a little while. And this is being sold at a fair bit below recommended retail price. And it's just sitting there in stock. And incidentally, that is with free shipping at Millibods Gaming, so you do pay exactly £115. You're not getting stung on shipping. And yet, it's in stock. And we all remember what happened with some previous sets. Trying to buy a booster box of something like Evolving Skies, for instance. Yes, it is better now than it was, but there was a point shortly after the release of Evolving Skies where trying to buy a booster box of it was, well, let's just say not as easy as it could have been. And we all remember back when Vivid Voltage came out. And when Vivid Voltage came out, I mean, you could not find a booster box of that. That sold out pretty much instantly and was extremely hard to get hold of. That was kind of when things were almost at their worst in terms of actually trying to get hold of the sets. So what's going on with Fusion Strike and how come it is not selling quite as well? And like I say, I've spoken to a bunch of stores. This isn't just going on the fact that it's in stock. Well, I've spoken to a bunch of stores and they're all basically telling me the same thing, and that is that Fusion Strike is just not selling as well as previous sets. And you know what? That makes perfect sense. Because Fusion Strike came out in November. What came out in October? Celebrations. And Celebrations, when it came out, when it was revealed, I referred to Celebrations as the most exciting set ever. And I know I am prone to hyperbole because I am a very excitable chap. But I meant it then and I mean it now. We had all those amazing promos like Dragapult Prime and Greninja Star, and I'm still absolutely delighted they were there. We had a fun little main set with stuff like your Gold Mew, Full Art Professor's Research that I pulled 3 playsets of, and Kyogre, which I'm just shouting out because of the amazing artwork. And then, of course, we had the Classic Collection, which we printed amazing cards including that Charizard, Umbreon Star, and my literal favourite card ever, Donphan Prime. And alright, fine, I know that Donphan Prime might not be the chase card for everybody, but it is for me. Incidentally, my current count of that is 1 English, 2 Japanese. I really need to put that up a little bit. So if anyone wants to hit me up on Twitter at @TheWassy and arrange a trade of my, I don't know what, for your Donphan, hit me up, would ya? Because I need more Donphan Prime. But the point is, Celebrations was a fantastically exciting set that launched in the month prior to Fusion Strike. And I'm going to be honest with you, and this is purely me from a personal standpoint. I mean, look at my channel. You don't need me to tell you this. I bought a lot of celebrations. Loads of celebrations. I didn't buy much Fusion Strike. I bought a little bit, you know. I went and got my Build and Battle box, went and got my 3-pack blisters, which is the minimum I will always buy for any set. I'm not an idiot, I need them. But that's pretty much what I got for Fusion Strike. And I intend to buy more down the line, don't get me wrong. But as it stands at the moment, me and Fusion Strike, I have not bought a lot of that set at all. And one of the reasons is because I bought an awful lot of celebrations. But then, of course, 2 months before that, back in August, we got Evolving Skies. And Evolving Skies launched at the end of August, and Evolving Skies was a good set. Evolving Skies is going to go down, not including special sets, it's going to go down as the best set in year 2 of Sword and Shield. I honestly think at the moment, it is going to go down as the best set from Sword and Shield. The Sword and Shield block at the moment looks like, Evolving Skies is very much the set to beat, because it had all the alternate arts of those evolutions. I mean, there were a whole bunch of other things in there. We had the alternate art of Rayquaza, which was also an extremely sought-after card. So you had Rayquaza, you had all of the evolutions. And even if you're not getting those, just the regular evolutions, you can open a box and, get yourself a Leafeon and a Glaceon and not all of the others, that's not true. The Gen 1 were taken out to be put in tins. But there are a lot of them in there. And the evolutions are very, very popular. And to put it bluntly, your average Pokemon collector, your casual collector, casual player, call it what you will, they don't mind going to buy boxes of Evolving Skies because they could get those amazing alternate art evolutions. But even if they don't, they're going to get a couple evolutions in the box, and there's a lot in that set, which is cool. And then we get to Fusion Strike. Now, as I've just explained, it's coming hot on the heels of Evolving Skies, probably the best main set in the last 2 years. And Celebrations, an extremely hyped special set. So Fusion Strike had to come in with something really special in order to be that set that everybody's going to be excited about. Did it? Not really. Now, it did come in with Mew, which is amazing, but I'm talking to a bunch of people who are basically telling me that people are not as excited for the alternate art Mews as they are for the evolutions. They're not quite as good. They're not quite as sought after. People aren't loving them. And certainly, if you go and look at the prices, that absolutely bears out. This is not very scientific, so you'll have to, forgive me for this one. But if we head on over to TCG Player and have a little bit of a look, Mew V Max, you're talking the alternate art is somewhere in the region of an $80 card. But Umbreon V Max, you're talking about a $180 card. Sylveon V Max, you're talking about a $90 card. Rayquaza V Max, you're talking about a $160 card. Mew's just not quite there, and bearing in mind, I know it's only a tiny bit below Sylveon, but Sylveon's in the same set as Umbreon and Rayquaza, and Mew is supposed to be the poster child for the set. Honestly, in terms of the alternate arts coming from Fusion Strike, it's really Gengar and Espeon that are, holding the fort, so to speak, as proper, fancy, amazing Pokemon. I love me some Greedent. That Greedent alternate art is just absolutely phenomenal. And speaking of which, I need to give a massive shout out to Mr. Cinephile over on Twitter, who just sent me one. For no particular reason other than just kindness. And I'm so happy because I love Greedent. And then I actually opened the letter they sent me, and there was a rainbow rare Greedent in there as well, the VMAX, just because they're awesome. But that Greedent V alternate art is like a $15 card. It's not a particularly expensive card, it's just got amazing artwork. So from a collector's standpoint, Fusion Strike is not all there. And I'm afraid we've got to say it, as much as it's not all there, that's very important, it's also the biggest set ever, but it's got significantly fewer alternate arts, etc., than a set like Evolving Skies, which means it's the biggest set ever, but there are a lot of filler cards in there, and there really are. There are literally a bunch of cards that were cut from previous sets, or those terrible Pokemon V that were brought in from the Japanese family decks, a second lot of them, which are just generally pretty bad. And there are a lot of filler cards in there relative to your average set. So it's not really there for collectors. And for that reason, and the fact that Evolving Skies and Celebrations were so much better, Fusion Strike is just not selling as well. Why is that going to become a problem? Because we are getting into in-person tournaments quite soon. And when we get into in-person tournaments, what is the best deck in the game right now? It's Mew VMAX with Genesect. And I don't think there's much of a counter-argument. I know it's not winning every online tournament at the moment because it is the best deck and people are going after it, but it's widely regarded that Mew Genesect is the best deck around. The problem is that that deck is pretty much entirely from Fusion Strike. And it's not just Mew and Genesect. You also got things like Elisa Sparkle and Power Tablet and Meloetta and cards like that, which are, they're not your big fancy chase cards, but they're still in the set. And we are going to be getting back to in-person tournaments soon. Which means when we get back to in-person tournaments, everybody is going to want these Fusion Strike cards. But when sets don't sell as well, one thing, and don't take this as read, I want you to listen carefully when I say this, at the moment, the stores I'm talking to can't backorder this set. As it stands at the moment, the stores that I'm chatting to are not actually able to go and backorder Fusion Strike. That does not mean it's out of print. It means that right now, as it stands, you cannot go and backorder that set. And that is all it means. Don't read too much into it. But that means that we're going to end up in a situation where when we get back to real life in-person events, there is going to be a mad scramble for playable cards, singles, that we all need to make for our decks. A lot of which are going to come from Fusion Strike. But if the set isn't selling as well, that means that it's not going to be printed as much, which means there are going to be fewer of them out there, and this could have a real impact on the price of singles as we move back into real in-person tournaments. Now, the way the world is at the moment, we know those in-person tournaments are scheduled. As I record, they have not been cancelled. I can't tell you what's going to happen in the future. I'm not saying they will be cancelled. I don't know. I'm not in charge of that. I don't work for Pokémon. But I'm also telling you that we are in a damn panic with a new variant, which is worrying a lot of people, and a lot of things are starting to get cancelled again. So keep an eye out. But when we go back to in-person tournaments, we could have a situation where going after singles or Fusion Strike could end up getting pretty expensive because everyone's going to be scrambling at the same time to get singles from a set which has not sold as well as previous sets. And also, right, let's be clear while I'm here. When I say not sold as well as previous sets, that's a comparative measure. Let's be 100% clear. Pokemon TCG is still selling absolute gangbusters. It's still hugely popular. It is still the number one TCG in the world by quite a wide margin in terms of sales. There's no controversy here in that regard at all. What I am saying is that Fusion Strike has been less popular than some of the other sets. And this is something to keep an eye on as we go to physical tournaments. Those single prices could skyrocket quite quickly. And obviously, I haven't said this explicitly, although I'm sure a bunch of you have picked it up, but let me say it clearly now. If you do intend playing decks which do revolve in cards from Fusion Strike, maybe go and pick them up sooner rather than later. Don't wait to be part of the mad scramble when those tournaments actually happen, because that could end up being not quite so great for your wallet. Of course, the next set coming up after this is Brilliant Stars, and we know that Brilliant Stars has got those new V-Star cards, which are extremely popular, and one of them is a Charizard. And we know that it's bringing in some of those character rares and character super rares. Once again, I've warned you many times, but I'm going to keep warning you as we go. We are only getting 30 of the 70. We don't know which ones are coming. There might even be a Charizard in there as well. I pulled one of them from one of my 2 boxes of VMAX Climax in Japan. I was absolutely delighted. But my point is, we don't know exactly which ones are coming. but we know some of them are coming, and we know they're amazing and brilliant and awesome. So I expect Brilliant Stars to be another very popular, sought-after set, which is interesting, because if Fusion Strike ends up being bookended by two fantastically popular sets, and that really is looking like a legitimate possibility at this stage, it could end up just being one of those pariah sets, even though it's actually got a whole bunch of super playable cards, some wonderful alternate arts, etc. This is something to keep an eye on. But as it stands at the moment, Fusion Strike is not proving as popular as other recent sets, and when we get back to in-life tournaments and people need the singles, and they will need the singles, that could have a real impact on the market going forward. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, that's Fusion Strike, that's what I can tell you, that's what I've managed to figure out, but now I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about Fusion Strike? Is it a set that's setting your world on fire? Is it something that you're very happy about? Or is it a set that you have largely skipped? Let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.